Today, I'm going to be talking about 7 deaths that changed history forever. Let's get straight into it. Number 1. Franz Ferdinand. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie rode through the streets of Sarajevo in an open car. It was supposed to be a peaceful visit, but hidden in the crowd was a group of young Serbian nationalists, part of a group called the Black Hand, and they had come to kill him. The first attempt failed. A bomb was thrown at the motorcade, but it missed. The attacker swallowed cyanide and jumped into a river, but the poison didn't work and the river was barely knee-deep. He was arrested. Franz Ferdinand, shaken but alive, insisted on continuing the visit. Later that day, his driver took a wrong turn, straight into a side street, where one of the other assassins, Gavrilo Princip, just happened to be standing outside a sandwich shop. He saw the car stall, walked up, 2 gunshots. The Archduke and his wife were both dead. But the real story was what happened next. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia. Russia sided with Serbia. Germany backed Austria-Hungary. Then France. Then Britain. Within weeks, all of Europe was at war, dragged into one of the deadliest conflicts in human history, all because one man, in the wrong car, took a wrong turn. Number 2. Julius Caesar. For nearly 500 years, Rome had been a republic. No kings, just elected officials and laws. But by 44 BC, that system was already falling apart. Civil wars, corruption, power grabs, and in the middle of it all stood one man, Julius Caesar. He was a brilliant general, a ruthless politician, loved by the people, feared by the Senate. After crushing his rivals in a brutal civil war, Caesar returned to Rome not just as a victor, but as dictator for life. And that terrified the old guard. March 15, the Ides of March. Caesar entered the Senate, surrounded by men he believed he could trust. But they had already made a decision: kill one man to save the Republic. They circled him. One grabbed his robe, another plunged a knife, then another, and another. Even Brutus, the man Caesar had treated like a son, joined in. He collapsed beneath the statue of Pompey, the rival he had once defeated. The Republic didn't survive. Instead, Rome spiraled into more civil war. And when it ended, Caesar's adopted son, Octavian, became the first emperor of Rome. The Republic was gone, replaced by an empire that would last for centuries. And that empire shaped the modern world, in law, language, warfare, and power. Number 3. Gandhi. On January 30th, 1948, Mohandas Gandhi walked through a garden in New Delhi to attend his daily prayer meeting. He was thin, frail, and nearing 80, but still powerful. Not because he ruled a nation, but because he helped free one. Just a few months earlier, India had gained independence from British rule, a victory Gandhi had spent decades fighting for without ever picking up a weapon. He believed in ahimsa, non-violence, in peace through protest, and millions followed his lead, but not everyone was celebrating. Some saw Gandhi as too soft on Muslims, too willing to accept peace with Pakistan. Among them was Nathuram Godse, a Hindu extremist who believed Gandhi had betrayed the Hindu cause. As Gandhi approached the prayer ground, Godse stepped forward, bowed, and pulled out a pistol. 3 shots. Gandhi collapsed, whispering the words, "Hey Ram." The man who had led a revolution with silence, with salt marches and hunger strikes, was gone. The nation was shattered. Riots flared. Tensions between Hindus and Muslims exploded again. Gandhi had been the moral anchor, and with him gone, India nearly tore itself apart. His death didn't just end a life. It showed how fragile peace really is, even after victory. Number 4. Alexander the Great. In June of 323 BC, Alexander the Great lay on his deathbed in Babylon. He was 32 years old, feverish, barely able to speak, and no one knew why. Just weeks earlier, he had seemed unstoppable, a young king who had conquered the greatest empire the world had ever seen. Persia had fallen, Egypt had bowed. From Greece to India, he ruled it all. No one had done what Alexander had done. But now, the most powerful man on earth was dying. Some said it was malaria, others believed it was typhoid or poison. When his generals asked who should rule after him, Alexander gave a cryptic answer: "To the strongest." Then he died. But his empire didn't just fade, it exploded. With no clear heir, his top generals turned on each other. Friends became rivals, rivals became kings. The vast empire he had built in less than a decade shattered into pieces within a few years. His death didn't just end a reign. It proved that no matter how much you conquer, if you don't plan what comes after, everything burns. Number 5. Abraham Lincoln. It was April 14th, 1865. Just 5 days after the Civil War had ended. President Abraham Lincoln walked into Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., with a rare sense of peace. For 4 brutal years, he had led a country tearing itself apart. Now the Union had been saved. The Confederacy had surrendered. The bloodiest war in American history was over. But not everyone wanted peace. In the crowd that night was John Wilkes Booth, a famous actor and a furious Confederate sympathizer. He believed Lincoln had destroyed the South, betrayed the Constitution, and deserved to die. At 10:15 p.m., Booth slipped into Lincoln's private box, pulled out a small pistol, and shot the president in the back of the head. Lincoln never regained consciousness. He died the next morning. His death rocked the nation, not just because the president had been murdered, but because he was the one man who might have brought the country back together. Without Lincoln, Reconstruction took a darker turn. Southern states resisted. Racial violence exploded. Freed slaves were left unprotected. The country Lincoln fought to reunite was suddenly without its guide. He had ended the war, but his death nearly broke the peace that followed. Number 6. MLK. April 4th, 1968, Memphis, Tennessee. Martin Luther King Jr. stood on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel. He had come to support a strike by black sanitation workers, men demanding dignity, fair pay, and basic human rights. He was tired. He had been threatened, jailed, beaten, but still, he preached nonviolence. Still, he believed America could change. At 6:01 p.m., a single bullet struck him in the jaw and spine. King collapsed, bleeding, dying. Within an hour, the news was everywhere. The voice of a movement had been silenced. What followed wasn't peace, it was rage. Protests erupted in over 100 cities. Fires, riots, clashes with police. The grief was overwhelming, but so was the anger. And yet, something else happened too. Congress, pushed by the pressure of the streets, passed the Fair Housing Act. Just days later, one of the last major victories of the Civil Rights era. King's death didn't stop the movement. It forced America to look at itself, whether it wanted to or not. He had dreamed of peace, but his final gift was making the world confront the cost of ignoring justice. That's all for today's video. Subscribe if you want to see other videos like this one.